Welcome to Pure Hustle Podcast. I'm Mike.
And this is Orlando, and we're on episode 312.
Yeah, 312, an update episode. And we love our update episodes because it's our opportunity to kind of talk about what's going on in our life, reselling wise, what's going on in the reselling world, give you some sweet, juicy, dripping BOLOs, items you should be on the lookout for to make sure you're making the most profit possible on your reselling journey. Yeah, so stick around to the end to make sure you get to those.
I wonder what got us to share BOLOs. I mean, it's probably in episode 1, but what was our thought process? Like, we should just share what to look out for.
Yeah, well, the thing too is like BOLOs kind of can be like the clickbait to get people in, but like we kind of bury ours, not like bury them like we never like, it's not like huge in our thing, like the top, we've had a couple episodes like, 5 brands that
we haven't done a what sold in a long time either.
But I feel like a lot of times that's what people will do is they'll try and do like 5 things to sell on eBay to make
those
more.
Videos do well though.
They do. And that's the thing is like we include the BOLOs in there, but not in a way that I think we're bad at marketing. Like I think if we marketed the BOLOs better, we just keep it real. That's what I appreciate about our podcast is that, and there's some other podcasts like ours too that keep it real in the sense that we've always been about documenting. Yeah. We've never been about that guru life. I mean, I wouldn't mind the guru life, but I'm not about selling things to be a guru. Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay. All right. So how have things been going for you? I know you're super busy. So, I'll share this before the podcast. Mike's like, oh man, I've been doing a lot of reselling because of moving, but how's the move going?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty good. It's interesting. It's interesting because it's such a temporary thing. So, I'm finishing out this school year. I got a decent enough raise this school year to make it worthwhile. Plus the housing market. I mean, we don't talk we do talk economics on the podcast, we talk macro stuff. But we don't go into like tons of detail all the time with other areas like housing and things like that. A little bit we touch on it, or interest rates and things like that. But so the timing wise, it just kind of it was in a bad time for me to buy. So originally the plan was sell the fifth wheel, use that money to as a down while interest rates are low. Even though prices were kind of high, like the interest rates were so low. Well, then we got into that weird phase where prices were super high and interest rates are rising. So it's like, well, I'm not going to be the dummy that buys it both. And part of that is the reselling life, right? Reselling shows you and teaches you buy low, you sell high. And as you're running a business, if you're doing it and you're scaling, you start to learn more and more about things like leveraging debt and how to handle interest rates with that. So it didn't work out for buying the house this year, but my wife and I, we think we could be wrong. There's great people on both sides of the economic, spectrum that have differing opinions on this, but we think that the market is going to come down. We don't necessarily see like a huge crash maybe, but the market's got to come down on housing. So we're in this like weird temporary, we're somewhere for like the next 10 months, not even a whole year. And then we're going to try and buy. And so it makes for reselling a little bit tough because one, the process of a move is big, right? Like taking all of your personal things and moving them, it's a process. And then add on top of that, you've got a huge eBay store. I say huge, but it's probably like 1,000 items once you consider like unlisted things and things I've got listed on other platforms besides eBay and all of that. So I've got all of this inventory I've got to move, reorganize because you've got things organized a certain way. And then to realize from that, now I've got to, in just a few short months, do it all over again, right? So it puts you in this really weird position. And we talked about it on the last episode where being part-time kind of allows me to say, okay, I'm going to put the brakes on my eBay business a little bit. And because I have to focus on work. Now, somebody could say, well, you couldn't do that if you were full-time. But the reality is if I was full-time, then this would be what I would be doing for work. The same way I go to work for, 11 hours a day. A lot of times I'm at work. I would have already had my inventory moved, organized, shop would have been running. It would have been like 2-day pause at most, right? So because that would have been my time, that would have been my energy and focus. So there's definitely benefits being part-time, being full-time as far as how you run that. But the reality is even with my store, with the extended handling times and all of that and the vacation mode, I've still got sales coming in.
Yeah, it's
right.
Nice.
So sales come in, but the nice thing is I've got quite a bit of time to ship them. In fact, as a sale will come in, I'll look at it and I'll be like, okay, well, I've actually have this inventory here, or I've got this inventory over at the other place still because I still have the shed over at the other place, and half my inventory is there and half is at this new place. Mostly because we're still trying to figure out, where everything's going to go and time and all that. So there's things where it's like, well, this is here. Let's just ship it. And so people are expecting it's going to be like 15-day shipping handling time, and it goes out the next day. So they're getting a super sweet deal. And somebody else, like, they might have to wait 5-6 days. But the nice thing is just having that extended time on the handling. It gives you that flexibility, that room to not have to stress as much and say like, okay, we got other things going on. We'll figure it out. So
are you pretty much open? Like, I'm not saying people should flood your store, but are you open to pretty much any offer? Like if an offer comes through, no,
it's like almost the opposite. I mean, I'm going to get there. So my plan is over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to move everything, get everything ready, get everything going, and then get everything that I have currently listed or not listed because, and I'm going to be super, super picky with inventories. My goal going forward is I'm going to essentially, I told my wife, I want at least half of the stuff we currently have sold before we move, because we're planning on moving out of state this next move. So it's going to be a little bit bigger.
Podcast is staying though.
The podcast is staying. Don't worry. Don't stress, guys. We've already figured it out. We've got it. It's going to be just as good or better, promise. So, but anyways, a big, almost cross country move. I doing the cost benefit analysis, like as any good reseller or business owner is doing, is of, okay, how much space would this take in a U-Haul or a trailer? I have a couple of trailers that I own that I can pull stuff with. All right, how much space is it going to be? Is it going to be another trip? Because if it's, hey, it's going in one trip, but then I have to come back to pick up this inventory and then go again, that might cost me $1,000, $1,500 for the trip once you consider wear and tear on vehicles and gas prices and the amount of time I've got to get hotels between. So then I have to ask myself, is this inventory worth $1,500? Well, a good chunk of it is, and some of it's small and easy to move, but some of it's like, it's worth more than that, but it might sit for a long time. And if somebody were to come in and say, hey, I'll give you $1,500 for all of this stuff, and this half of your inventory, I might be like, sweet, that's the half that's kind of junk anyways. Yeah. I'd gladly get rid of it for that price. So we're going to try and essentially fire sell all of the stuff that's harder to move, because that's kind of the way we're doing the cost benefit analysis. If it's a big item, if it's going to cost a lot of money to move, and it's not going to be very, very profitable.
Well, I'm glad you're thinking about this now.
Right.
Because most people I know that are resellers, it's usually like they got a month.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, we got to move stuff. And we understand, like, sometimes circumstances
things happen,
forces you to move quicker, but at least you have the time and you have a plan. I think you're going to be really happy. I'm not going to be happy when you leave. I'm hoping that something works out where you win the lotto and you don't go anywhere, but I think you still would go because your money would go a lot further.
I'm going to be honest. If I'm winning the lotto, I'm probably not reselling anymore.
That's true.
So at least move the podcast.
The reason I laugh is like the craziness here. Just now San Diego struck down from the November ballot. They were going to start doing a tax per mile that you drive in San Diego County.
Oh gosh, I know.
Isn't that crazy?
Especially because I live far from work. It'd be brutal.
Like, imagine sourcing.
Tax,
not only do you have to factor in gas, now you have to factor in every mile that you drive. And granted, you could probably write it off on your taxes, but there's going to be...
You can't write off taxes on your taxes. I mean, it's not part of... I mean, technically...
Well, you could write off your mileage, but you're still paying taxes, right? Because I was doing the math with my son the other day, and I drive about 60,000 miles a year, right? And so I think the tax was like let's say it was 1%. That's like $600 I'm paying in taxes just to drive in San Diego. Yeah. So maybe you're better off leaving the state.
Yeah. So, that's kind of where our plan is now, is to get a good chunk of the inventory sold, take some of it, maybe kind of do what I did with going to the swap meet. That was pretty successful for us. And then the goal is just to move basically the cream of the crop inventory, the stuff that's easiest to move and the highest profit margin, which is kind of nice because it's almost like a forced purge of the store.
Oh, you're going to be, and listen, your sourcing is going to be so much better. Yeah. What I would give, and we've talked about this before. I mean, I had a fire probably a quarter mile from my house earlier this summer. And not saying I wish it would have just burned up my home, but literally everything that matters to me, I can probably put in 2 totes and I'm good. I'm good. All my pictures are on a cloud, right? I got some sentimental stuff, but pretty much. And so if all my inventory was toast and I had to file an insurance claim and start all over, and I'd be moving. It would be sweet. So
yeah. And so that kind of that forced purge of my inventory will be nice to go to the new state with inventory that's higher end inventory, less stuff to move, and then now the knowledge that I have. Because if you're not forced to do that, we kind of talked about it on the podcast, I'll let it sit. You know what I mean? If I've got a jacket, I've got a VCR, I know it'll eventually sell for $40-$50.
Oh yeah.
I paid $5 for it, even if it takes a few years. Okay, no big deal.
I do it all the time.
So you end up just collecting this stuff, and over the long run, it's probably worth it. But then once you kind of consider, hey, would I still buy that knowing what I know now? Maybe not. And so it kind of almost forces your hand.
I probably want to buy a quarter of my inventory and I know what I know now.
Which maybe fire sell that stuff, man.
That's a lot of stuff.
Just do it.
That's almost 1,000 items.
Do it.
So, but here's something you said that really I heard a lot at eBay Open Studio. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but I got the chance to go up to eBay Open. And when I was there, I met a lot of resellers, and most of the resellers I met were part-time. And it was the first time I think I came across people that were happy to stay part-time. And I don't know if it's because of the economy. I don't know if it's just because, right now reselling is definitely, it's a lot more competitive than it used to be. But, I had one guy tell me about, his name started with an E. I wanted to give him a shout out. I can't remember. I want to say it's Elias, but I could be wrong. But he had talked to me about he sells shoes, and he loves the fact that like if the sales are slow, it's okay. He has a job, right? He's not worried about it, right? And I remember, and I still see this a lot on YouTube. Like everybody's pushing to be full time, and I think full time is great. I love it. I don't want to be part time. I love the freedom. I love that I can wake up when I want to. I have kids, so not always, but I get to plan out my day. I get to do things when I want. But the reality is, it's also a hustle. Like there's not a break in my life really. There's not a time that I can just get away. Now I do travel a lot, but when I'm traveling, I'm answering messages, I'm accepting offers. It's not like this clean break, right? So now, okay, so that's your update.
Yeah, man. What about you?
So it's been interesting. I've been local deals. I've had like one sweet local deal a week.
Yeah,
since I've really
sweet. It
has been sweet, and they've been crazy. So just want to share a few. 2 weeks ago, some Hot Wheel red lines. They were on a local deal. The guy wanted, I think, like anywhere 160 to 200. I offered 80. The guy asked me like, "Would you 100?" I'm like, "Oh, I need to take a look at them." And I showed up. And the guy just like gave them to me like in a Ziploc. He's like, "I'll do 80," and just gave them to me. And then I flipped all those, and I made like $300 to $400 like within days. Nice. And I'm like, "What? Like this is why, like, this is crazy because people are really moving stuff." Then the next week, somebody's selling like 40 something of their Breyer horses, and I picked them up for $200. Now she didn't negotiate, but 2 or 3 of those horses sell, and I'm in the profit already. And then I had this sweet Super Bowl connection. Now, again, I'm taking things one step further. So earlier in the reselling process, Mike can attest to this. Everybody's kind of scared to share their reseller. Not only are they scared to share their reseller, the next step is you're kind of scared to show interest, right? Because sometimes showing interest can work against you, right? But lately, it's worked in my favor. So I'll give you an example. So this one was somebody had a bunch of 49er stuff and Giant stuff. So Super Bowl stuff from like 80s, 90s. Let me see if I can. I want to show one of the tickets.
Do you have one like?
No, hold on. I have one right here.
All right, so Orlando's going right now to pick up tickets for. You said it was it Niners?
It's 49ers. Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna be hard for you to sell. I know you're pretty diehard Niner fan.
I got this Super Bowl.
Nice.
Super Bowl 19 ticket, like already all set. If you're catching us on the YouTube, and I don't know what it's worth. I mean, maybe it's worth $30, $40, maybe $100. No idea, but. I mean, that's a long time ago. That's 1985.
1985.
Yeah. And so
$60, all taxes included.
Imagine a Super Bowl ticket being that cheap.
Well, but that's the thing. $60 given inflation. What is that today?
I don't know, man, but that's still cheap in 1985 for a Super Bowl ticket.
Yeah. I mean,
so anyways, let's get back to the story. So this person has a bunch of this stuff online, and I was like, oh, I really want this stuff, because I got emotional about it, because I'm like, this is where I grew up. We're just gonna keep it here the whole podcast. And they had it up for $200, right? So I messaged her and I'm like, hey, listen, I've been a Niners fan since birth. I love the Giants. I've been to Candlestick Park, which was where they used to play and it doesn't exist anymore, been a Pac-Bowl park. Like I am Niner fan, Giants fan through and through. Would love to pick up the stuff. I show up and it's all there. And I got other stuff. I'll show Mike after, but I have like tickets from like World Series. I have tickets from World Cup 94 when it was in the United States, like a bunch of stuff. And I said, listen, I got to be real with you. I told the lady, I said, I'm struggling here because this is reliving my childhood. So I showed super interest. And remember, she had it 200. And I said, but on the other side, I really don't know the value on a lot of the stuff, which I don't. But I knew that right away I could sell a couple pieces and make my money back. And I said, I know you have it 200, but, and I never give the first number, but we kept going back and forth, and I knew she wasn't going to give a number because she didn't know either. And I said, how about $80? She's like, I can tell you really like this stuff. And honestly,
and she knew you were going to sell it.
Yeah. And she goes, honestly, I know you're going to sell it and I hope you make a lot of money. Let's do $80.
Nice.
And sold. So I always encourage everyone, get out of your comfort zone. Not only sure you're a reseller, but if somebody is very much saying, hey, I know you're going to make money on this stuff. Be like, yeah, I'll make money, but this is how I support my family. I do this full time. Yep. Like, give people the whole context. Don't come off like, yeah, I'm going to make 10X on it. Like, don't go that way. Yeah. Go down the road of,
what Lambo with this.
Especially for full time. I mean, I'm not hiding anything by saying this is for my family. Like every dollar I make from reselling is reinvested into my family, into my kids.
Yep.
And so, I had the mega score. So local deals have been great. I find that there's a lot more garage sales right now. A lot more community sales have been happening. I couldn't make this last week, but there was like 3 or 4 happening at the same time. And I just think because of the economy, like people are just trying to offload stuff. And so it's been good. It's been good. And I've been handing out a lot of business cards. I've had, I don't know how many instances where somebody has a whole collection and they really care about their collection.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Did you catch the Instagram story from this week? You're probably a super busy movie, but this guy had all these vintage toys and I showed up late. I was like an hour and a half late. And I just got this vibe like that. I don't know. I'm clairvoyant or something, but I had this feeling that this guy had more. So I asked him, I said, hey, do you have any other toys that like you're just kind of struggling to sell? And he's like, yeah. And he looked at his wife and he's like, come on, go show him. And he's like, yeah, but I'm waiting because, I need to sell this. And he pointed to his wife who's pregnant. And I said, hey, listen, let's just take a look. I'm pretty sure probably won't be able to make a deal. And sure enough, he takes me back there and it's like, the AT-AT, you know what that is? The Star Wars, like the big.
Oh, the AT-AT?
Is that what it is? I call it AT-AT. Is that what it's called? Oh, the AT-AT, yes. Okay. Had a Millennium Falcon, had all these vintage, like tons of stuff. He had a Jabba the Hutt with, what is the thing that he lays on and there's like the cage underneath him? I don't forget what that's called. But anyways, had everything. And he told me he put on an offer up and instantly there was a bidding war on offer up. Like people, like he had it for 400. Somebody's like, I'll give you 500. Somebody's like, I'll give you more. And I've always been a fan of not getting involved in that mess.
Right.
Right. Because generally that turns people off. I don't know what it is, but in my experience, when somebody's trying to sell something and you start a bidding war in front of them, I find that sellers like at a garage sale or even locally, like they don't dig that. Like it begins to get them to think like, maybe I'm underselling this. Right. So I looked at everything and sure enough, $500, that's what somebody offered him. I could have offered him 600, probably would have been a good deal, but I just felt at the moment, it just wasn't the right time. He also said he had some full Voltron toys. And so I was like, here's my business card. Give me a call. So I have so many stories of that throughout the week of going to places and people are like, I'm not ready to sell, but I'll let you know when. And so always have that business card ready because you never know when you're going to get that call. So, and then the other thing is Amazon sales are picking up. We'll talk about that later on in our resellers topics, but I think people are shopping for Christmas now. So
it's good stuff.
All right. Hey, Patreon, Discord.
Yeah.
You guys have been so incredible to us. So good to us. And I want to say the value that we're getting from the Discord is second to none. Granted, I'm not in a lot of Discords, but every day I go on there. And even before I say anything, before I even ask a question, I'm seeing what people post. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's good. Oh, that's a BOLO I should look out. That's probably something I shouldn't do. That's probably something I should do. Like somebody had mentioned about how you can put like small flat rate boxes in the padded envelopes. Like I don't know, where the post office lands on that, but it's a good thing. If you guys don't know,
I mean, we did the kind of the floating the box thing, right?
Yeah, we do the floating the box thing, or we do the mug life, right? We put box inside padded envelope. So a lot of great ideas in the Discord. And so what's been awesome is that all of you that support us on Patreon have been able to show us, hey, we really love the podcast. We want to continue it. We want to help you guys to get to a place where you can do more episodes a week and not only that, but then people are getting on Discord and they're providing even more value. So I just want to say thank you to everyone that supported us. If you want to, get in on the action for $5.55 a month, 18 cents a day, just go on over to patreon.com/podcast. There's a link below. Sign up for Patreon. And when you sign up for Patreon, you get access to the Discord.
That's right.
So anything you want to add to that?
No, I think that's great. I mean, even just what we were talking about with, sharing that you're a reseller, like we have a whole section there. It's kind of like a rants and rave, given that our last Monday mini was on negativity, but we definitely think there's a place for, being able to kind of just share frustrations because we can relate to that. And somebody kind of had a similar thing. The reality is sharing your reseller works in your favor most of the time. However, there are times where it doesn't. Like, we're going to be honest with you. Like, we don't want you to like share your reseller for the first time and it blow up in your face and you come to Mike and Orlando and say, I'm never listening to PHP Podcast again because I lost this deal. Like, it does happen. There are gonna be times where you say, hey, I'm a reseller. I'm hoping there's not enough profit in here for me, and that's instantly gonna take the seller and put them on this like defensive mode, and I don't want to sell this stuff to you. And there's one example of a person who in the Discord who was talking about they were trying to buy a bunch of pants off of somebody. And they mentioned they were a reseller.
Buy the pants off of them?
Yeah, literally just right off. Like, I want those pants. No, but the person had like, several pairs of a certain type of pants. And I'm pretty sure it was pants. And they were, here's how much I could do for these. And the person goes, oh, are you a reseller? And it's like, yeah. Oh, well, then I'll sell them to you for twice that price.
I remember that story.
Right? And the reality is like some people, and then their response was, I'd rather just donate this so that people who need it can get it instead of giving it to a reseller. And it's such a flawed logic. And the point I made in the discussion on the Discord was, for me, when I buy something from somebody and I sell it and make money off of it, I've used that money to buy medical equipment for my son and medicine for my son. I use that to buy, school stuff supplies for my kid. I use that to pay bills. I use that to pay, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm just using this money and then I'm already like literally just rolling cash all day long. It's not
like we drive in Lamborghinis to like these deals.
Right. And my thought is like, what person who's buying a pair of like, whatever it was, Miss Me jeans or whatever, needed those jeans more than I potentially needed the money in order to do something for my family that's necessary. Right. So there are going to be people who just have this mentality that what you're doing is just evil. That like you are literally the spawn of Satan for selling stuff that people desire. Like, that is an awful thing. How dare you? So it will blow up in your face, but it's nice to have a rant and rave place. So that way somebody can share that in the Discord and say, hey, this is what I experienced the time it blew up in my face. And a bunch of people could say, yep, that's happened too. But then you get the validation of, and that happens like once out of every, 15, 20 times somebody will say no and they get upset about it. But the rest of the time, it works in your favor. Or if it doesn't work in your favor, it's at least neutral. So you kind of you get a better picture when you have multiple people kind of providing input and you realize like, okay, this is the normal way things work. And this isn't, I don't need to expect it to happen this way. And having that community really helps with that. So again, thank you to all of you who support us on Patreon. You make PHP Podcast happen.
Yeah, agreed. All right, so we got some random stories. I'll share one, and then I got another one after you share. So the post office caught me finally. I don't know if I mentioned this.
Ooh, have you been being deceitful?
So somebody had posted. So a long time ago, I had said, maybe 6 months ago, I had said that you can modify flat rate boxes. Like you can modify flat rate boxes, but you have to pay the priority shipping cost if you modify it, or if it's cheaper, you might get yourself in danger, and the post office might say they might actually scan it as a flat rate box. Because Pirate Ship doesn't tell you can't modify them. Pirate Ship says, hey, listen, here's what happens. If you do modify a flat rate box, you run the danger of being charged for a flat rate box, even though your item would have been cheaper as a priority box. Does that make sense?
Right.
So I had a good friend of mine that I ship stuff out to in San Francisco, and it was only going to cost me $8 to ship a couple things to him, and the flat rate was $13, but I didn't have a box, so I just grabbed a flat rate box, and wherever it said flat rate, I put the shipping label stickers, clear the white ones, over it, and it just looks like priority box, and I shipped it. And next thing I know, I get this this message from Pirate Ship saying the post office has deemed that you used a flat rate box to ship something, and we're charging your account $5.83. I was like, oh, finally got caught. Now, somebody had in the YouTube comment 6 months ago, I said the post office was changing that, because back in the day, it used to be you could modify flat rate. You can modify any priority mail box as long as you pay the appropriate shipping cost based on weight and measurement. Right now, a flat rate box, if you're going to use it as a flat rate box, you had to make sure that you covered up anything that said flat rate so it doesn't get confused when it goes to the post office. Well, maybe I think what happened, is my guess, is it went through the belt, in the scanner, and the scanner saw the dimensions of the box, because I didn't modify the box.
That makes sense. I bet you have to modify. It's weird, but it does make sense that if you modify it, then you would pay the regular, shipping price. Mm. But if you don't modify it, you would have to pay the flat rate price. That makes sense, even though it's bizarre. But if you're sending it as a flat rate box and you're just covering up flat rate, it's literally
that's what I did, and I think that's what got me in trouble. So anyway, be careful out there. All right, you got anything?
Yeah. So my son has a Toy Story. Little mini Toy Story collection, and a lot of the Toy Story toys that he has comes from older cousins, right? So he's got cousins now that are in their teenage years, and one that is like past teenage years, like 20-ish or so. Okay. And so he's gotten like a Buzz Lightyear, and he's gotten Woody and stuff from like OG Toy Story toys, like not like the new stuff, but like pretty old school, probably first few generations or first generation of some of these toys. And it's interesting because maybe not first gen, because that would have been maybe a little too old, but earlier toys. And so his younger cousin came over, and she's a couple years younger, and she's obsessed with Woody. So she's like playing with the Woody toy that he has. And so we're like, oh, her birthday's coming up. We should like buy her a Woody toy. And so we look on Amazon, and like, they're stupid price for like a Woody doll. I'm like, why are these so expensive?
Especially the older ones.
Yeah. Well, just even the new stuff is pretty expensive. So we're like, well, they can't be that expensive on eBay. And so then we look them up on eBay. Holy cow. Obviously I would know if I'm going to a garage sale and I see like a Woody toy in new in box, or anything Toy Story new in box that looks like it's really, really old, I'm going to be willing to buy it, But to think that a used toy Woody that's not even like the first gen, the first version, first edition Woody, but stuff that came out, probably Toy Story 2, those Woodies are selling for pretty high prices on eBay. And it's literally like isn't it Toy Story 2 where he's like getting the collection together and selling Woody?
I think so. I can't remember.
I'm pretty sure it's Toy Story 2, and that's the whole theme of the movie is like the collector guy is buying Woody and selling it.
So that's because when Woody meets his his girlfriend or whatever.
Yeah, but they're not. I think she's into Buzz, but yeah. So
she's into Buzz.
So it's just bizarre to me to think like that was a funny, like as a reseller, like watching Toy Story 2 is pretty funny, right? Because he's made out to be kind of like the villain, like how dare he collect? He's taking from a kid, but it's still pretty funny. The whole like selling it on eBay, and he does the thing we've talked about, like actually it's so expensive that he's gonna fly it to the customer instead of just sending it in a box, and all of the things that we've talked about on the episodes over the years. Like there's a lot of like things that connect to Toy Story 2, but to think that that's actually a thing, like the selling Toy Story toys is almost the plot of Toy Story 2 because they can be so expensive.
Yeah. No,
so it's I don't know. So it's just kind of a funny thing to think like, well, I guess we're not getting you this toy. But the fact that they made a movie about something that's actually happening with the toys from the movie, but
I get it.
Very meta. And
that's a Bolo.
Yeah, Bolo. Free Bolo.
And the reason they're Bolo, especially like if you find the older Buzz Lightyears, is because those wings are broken. Like the one, the wings pop out, and it was like to infinity and whatever. And so I remember I bought those. My son, it's Toy Story 2 when I bought some of those, because Toy Story 1 came out, 90s? Like 95, 97? Like if you find those Toy Story toys, you got some money.
Yeah.
So definitely check them out. No, mine is, I'm just getting more repeat buyers. And you should tune into our Monday episode or Money-sode where we talk about coupons. I'm just finding that now it's weird. Like first it was Hawaiian shirts, then it was Harley gear, then it was people that collect Hot Wheels red lines. Now I have like a group of like Department 56 people that are like, whenever I post anything, they're like messaging me. They're like, how about this one? Same thing with Briar horses. I've picked up a few Briar horses, and the best is when they correct me. Like, this isn't a proud stallion. This is a family stallion. And I'm like, oh, I don't like.
But see, if you're a collector, man, those things are important.
They're but
important.
I do think eBay is doing a better job with repeat buyers, because I'm able to identify them. I just wish, and I'll share this in a little bit when we talk about reselling topics, it would just tell you when they send you an offer, this person is a repeat buyer. Because then that would make it easier, right? And usually I know if it's a repeat buyer based on the username.
I think they should just integrate it into their messaging system, right? I finally have the new messaging system, and it should basically...
Just now?
Well, I had to like click a button. I finally found it on my phone. I had to like switch over to it. But since they already have like kind of more like a thread, it should just be that way. If somebody buys something, all of the information should just come up as like a notification on your thread. Like, this person bought this and paid this much. And then if they offer something else, you should still get the same screen you get to, but it should also be in like the message thread. So you can go through a message thread with a customer and be like, oh, here's all of the things they've bought from me, the dates they've bought things, offers they've done, maybe a return they did, and I had an issue with this customer, and like, oh, maybe I don't want to accept this offer. I had an issue with this customer.
They will never put that up.
But it just makes sense to have it like you almost have like a customer account at that point. Like you can scroll through and see your history with them. Every message you did, every return they've made, it's all just there. And then it should just be like, you can delete the message or just ignore it. But then the next time they send something, it's just right back up at the top of the account. Here's their message with their offer, and their entire history of messages with you is there.
Yeah, I mean, if I have some ring spooner buyers that they'll buy like 5 to 10 shirts at a time, and I know who they are by their username. But it would be really nice if, sometimes I don't hear from them for like 2 years, and it would just be nice if it popped up. And because telling me after the fact that it's a repeat buyer, it kind of helps, because then I try to put their name in my memory bank. But when they send the offer, just let me know. Just let me know. So. All right. Hey, appreciate all of you guys. By the way, here's something where I am a repeat buyer. It's at American Bubble Boy. And I've already gone through the American Bubble Boy wrap that I bought from like 2 weeks ago. That's how good sales have been. Now, it's been because I've had a lot of hard goods. I will tell you, the larger bubble wrap, it's easier to wrap things.
You know how we have our Q4 wrap?
Yeah.
We should make a bubble wrap.
Okay.
American Bubble Boy, hit us up.
How many bars could we do there? So
Plenty.
Wait, should we do a Q4 wrap?
No, I mean, if we're going to do another wrap, it should not be Q4. We've already got our Q4 wrap.
It should be just a reselling wrap.
Yeah. It could be the bubble wrap.
Well, we have somebody that wants to be a guest on it, and I think they would be good.
Yeah.
So, anyways,
dropping bars, man.
Stay tuned. All right. By the way, so if you, getting back to what we were talking about, American Bubble Boy, great brand, fast shipping, free 2-day shipping, next day shipping, local pickup, all kinds of goods. Make sure to go to the link below, AmericanBubbleBoy.com. If you use our link, they are told that we sent you guys over there, helps us out and helps you out. And here's the thing, make sure to follow us on social media, because the last time we had that huge deal that we were able to get, I think I got like 400 square feet for like $25, is because, we're in contact with American Bubble Boy. We follow American Bubble Boy. We found out about it pretty quick, and we were able to get a lot of people on our Discord, a lot of people that follow us on social media to get that deal. So keep an eye, because I'm pretty sure Joel and the team over there is going to be doing some more American Bubble Boy deals. All right. If you haven't followed us on social media, we are Pierce Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are Pierce Cast on Twitter. you could always give us a call, 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. We actually have a hustle of the week next week. That's a phone call.
Yeah.
So looking forward to that. Always shoot us an email if you want. pureasapodcast@gmail.com. That's pureasapodcast@gmail.com. And if you're listening to the podcast for the first time, or you've been listening to the podcast for a long time, jump on over to YouTube. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe. Hit that bell button. Let us know in the comments. What are you most excited for this coming Q4? If you want to just say, I want to enjoy Christmas, enjoy Christmas. Because honestly, I think this year so I haven't shared this much on this, but I'll share this is what I'm looking forward to. I think I'm going to be Amazon-like this year. I don't think I'm going to be doing the crazy driving I've done the last 2-3 years.
Interesting.
I think I'm going to, because you and I have always talked about, like, you always bring it up, Orlando, what if you just used all that time and just did eBay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, would you get the same results? I don't think I'll get the same results, but my kids are getting older, and I kind of want to enjoy these, Christmases, at least the next 2 years till my oldest graduates. So
yeah, I think that's good.
So anyways, where are we at? Okay, we're back to YouTube. Yeah. What cracks me up is somebody again said, what Mike looks like is totally not what I pictured from the podcast.
Somebody else had that?
Yes. It was on Instagram yesterday.
There we go.
So, and I said, I wonder if that's good or bad. They're like, it could be both.
Yeah, we tell them that, we've got the bald dome and we got the beards. I mean, what do you expect? I feel like bald bearded guys are literally like, we all look the same. I'm just going to throw it out there. I had one student tell his mom, kind of volunteers at our school sometimes. So she come and told me, my son we were at a gas station and some guy was pumping gas and he was like a little bit shorter than you and a little bit bigger, like, heavier guy than you. And he had bald and beard. And my son was like, that's like a Dollar Tree version of Mr. Mike. They don't call me Mr. Mike, and she's like, Dollar Tree version. She's like, yeah, he doesn't, he looks similar, but not exactly. Looks like the off brand. I thought that was pretty funny. So, yeah.
Now, I will say, I think we're ahead of the trend. I'm seeing a lot of people like trying to grow beards now and shave their heads. So if you've been with us from the beginning, appreciate you.
Yeah, beards are cool. I've been wearing a beard long before they're cool. And then they became hipster cool. And then now they're like, just like mainstream cool. So, we'll see.
Are they? I don't know if they're mainstream yet though, but hopefully. All right, where are we? Oh, hey, if you wow, this episode is so off today. So if you haven't yet written a review on iTunes, please jump on over. iTunes is just really great for us as far as when you write reviews, it pushes up on the algorithm, keeps us the #1 reselling podcast out there. So not only leave a 5 stars, but leave a comment as to why. And whenever people do, it's great because we hear from experienced resellers, we hear from new resellers, we hear from people that aren't even resellers and just want to hear about what's going on. So jump on over to iTunes.
Love it.
Are you ready to talk about some important things?
eBay Open happened. Was it worth it? Consumers are buying more secondhand, early Christmas shopping, and some more things that we may or may not talk about. Orlando, take it away.
Okay, so eBay Open was this past week, and I'm gonna be upbeat for a little bit, and then we gotta get into the realness of it all.
It looked kind of lame.
Okay, so
I didn't do it, so I can't say, but I'm just like from the little things I saw.
So like, listen, I applaud eBay for honoring the sensibilities of different populations. What I mean by that is we've just been through a whole 2 years where people wanted to stay away from each other, right? But there's, most people now want to engage with one another in real life. But there are still a lot of people that still want to stay away from each other. And so I think eBay hopefully, I'm hoping that this was just like the last time that there's a hybrid. I'm hoping that this next year will be an in-person 3-day eBay Open, maybe not in Vegas because there's no water in Vegas, but somewhere. And because eBay Open, I got to tell you, it was rough. I mean, the first morning I went into the networking like sessions, and you go in there and there was like 6 people like on a Zoom, but like you had to be invited into the Zoom. And I think if I had gone to like a sneak peek thing, I would have been one of the moderators, but I just got busy and I didn't. and you only got in there by like getting in line. But even then, it just wasn't it, you know? And what was weird was some people would get on that Zoom and they wouldn't talk. They would just like stare at the screen. And I'm like, just move. Like, let somebody else engage. Like, and so it just, I didn't feel there was a lot of networking. Because here's what it does. When you create that kind of a platform, it doesn't become a networking session. What it becomes is a Q&A session. And what I mean by that is whoever is on the screen on that Zoom is seen as like the leader or the person that people, and they ask questions, and the person answers questions. It just becomes like this Q&A. But if you're in a room with somebody and you're like shaking hands and there's hors d'oeuvres and there's drinks, you're like talking, you're asking people, you know, how are things going? How's your reselling business? You're not saying like, so what do you do for pictures? I mean, you might ask those questions, but it becomes more of getting to know each other. And those networking sessions, in my opinion, I went to several of the rooms because I was trying to get to know as many people as I could. It just felt like it was just Q&A sessions. It wasn't like a networking experience. And you know, the best part about it was going to eBay Open Studio, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But you know, they had some updates. It's interesting that eBay does not put the keynotes on the eBay for Business page. They put all the sessions, but not the keynotes. And maybe, just maybe, I have my major concerns that this unpaid item thing will not come to fruition. I hope I am 100% wrong. But to me, it just seems like something that could easily have been handled years ago.
Remember, so to clarify, we're talking about the fact that, you know, someone makes an offer, they don't have to necessarily pay. You accept the offer, or if somebody buys an item, they don't have to pay right away, as opposed to other platforms where somebody, you know, puts a bid, they win it, or they make an offer and they win it, or they buy an item and they win it. Then the money automatically comes out of their account. They're paying for it right then. You get the money as the seller, or at least the money is there. You know, it's yours, as opposed to, or on eBay, somebody can buy something, they don't pay for it, and then it sticks in this limbo section for a while. And eBay has kind of been hinting at or promising for a long time now that this will be fixed, and they've had various reasons of why it hasn't.
Well, it went from ignoring for a long time to hinting to now saying they're going to. Because there was a time where eBay never even acknowledged that like that was a problem.
I mean, that's a trajectory of
change,
of speaking of change, right? Like
I guess so. But I the sense I got was if Ione, okay, the CEO, had gone up there and his very first thing goes on the keynote, guys, I have great news. Starting tomorrow, no more unpaid items. People would walk away going, that was the best eBay Open ever. No one would remember the Zooms. No one would remember, you know, all the sessions that they were like, what am I doing here? Like, no one would remember anything. They would remember that this is the year that eBay came through. I know it, because that was the talk of everyone. The moment that was expressed in the keynote, the moment I put that on social media, everybody commenting, like, what is going on right now? A couple other cool things, and I want to hear your thoughts on this. One was they did a live demonstration of the live stream, one of the keynotes. So yeah, they are going to be a Whatnot competitor. I think it's going to be great because you can use your own inventory, which is awesome, because it's not like, you know, right now a lot of people are doing Whatnot, and some people are having to pull their stuff from eBay, and that's a lot of work because then you got to find what it is and remove it. And then if it doesn't sell, maybe you relist it on eBay. And on you know, when they showed it, you don't have to like take images. It'll just pull your listing, and it'll show images while you're doing the auction. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Here's my only catch. Will there be unpaid items on the live stream auction? Because the beauty of Whatnot, if you sell up to 1,000 items, you get paid instantly. Right? And even if, you know, and let's say you don't get paid instantly, let's say you've only sold under 1,000, within a week, as soon as that item gets delivered, you get paid. There is no unpaid items. Everybody pays.
Yeah. Well, and it's more of the fact that when somebody buys the item, they already had to have the credit card information.
Correct.
So it's less of when you, because I'm fine with my money being tied up if I know I'm getting the money.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
I almost consider that as less of a concern. I don't know if eBay is in the right position to move forward with that, because one, I don't know if the eBay market in general, the people who are on eBay, if that's the right demographic for a Whatnot style auction system. Another thing too is what kind of makes Whatnot work is not everybody's a seller. It's not the easiest thing to become a Whatnot seller, and then to become like a known Whatnot seller, like certain categories, like you have to like apply, you've got to like, there's things you have to do, and you have to apply for certain categories. So if they just open it up to anybody with inventory, how am I going to drive people to my store?
Do that. I don't think they're going to do that. I think they're going to do what Whatnot did. Like you have to have a certain track record. You might have to, I mean, Whatnot even makes you take pictures of your inventory to validate that you have inventory.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we'll see. It's one of those things that I'm glad eBay's making steps in the right direction, because, you know, like I've mentioned before, eBay is a very wide company, right? They cover many different markets and niches and all of that stuff. But so many competitors are coming and taking large parts of like a section of that, right? Like, you know, you're doing everything, but we're going to come in, we're going to take the clothing market of like people 18 to 30. Okay. All right. Poshmark, right?
Yeah.
Or we're going to come in and we're going to take like certain types of collectibles, and then that's your Depop or even your Whatnot, right? Like certain companies are coming in and taking whole sections of eBay, as it were. And not that Poshmark is going to necessarily overrun eBay overnight, because it's not as wide. It's not necessarily meant to. But if all of these, it's almost like, I almost look at it like it's being attacked by little, you know, predators coming and taking little bites out of it. Like one little bite out of the company that's eBay isn't going to crash eBay. But if eBay can't keep up with the times, so I appreciate that they're trying to do something to keep up with the times. I just, one, don't know if it's too little too late for eBay. Or two, if this is the right market, like, and this is the right step. I think
it's the right call.
Maybe. I mean, they've got to do something. I feel like whatever it is, I would say if I were to boil it down to what is the number one thing eBay needs to do besides make money, because they're a company, the number one thing eBay needs to do is they need to re-up their image, as it were, in people who are 15 to 30.
I agree with that. And I would say I agree with that. So real quick, touch base on the live stream one more time. The reason I say I think this is the right call, we talked about this in the last update episode. It's a booming business, like in China and other parts of the world, and Whatnot is definitely exponentially growing. I mean, Whatnot, I just saw a thing where they're getting like all these celebrities to sign their own Funko Pops, and they're going to run an auction. Like they're doing whoever is their marketing person is genius. Like I remember they had one where they had Post Malone on there. They got Barstool Sports doing stuff. I mean, they're getting everybody, right? They're getting everybody. And they're not only getting everybody, but they're getting like relatable, like people like that are trending at the moment. Right. And so, yeah.
When's the last time eBay had somebody trendy? Like
they do some sneaker stuff here and there, but yeah, it's not, I mean, it's kind of like Whatnot on TikTok. They're all over TikTok. And as much as we joke about TikTok and as much as we think it's an attempt to take information from us, it's super relevant now. I mean, it is pushing the culture. And so I don't know. Yeah, I agree with you. And the other thing is at eBay Open that I was at, I don't know what it was, but I would say most people that were there were within 20 years of within 15 years of my age, within 10 years. Like it was an older population there, which I thought was interesting because I've been to other eBay Open. There's a lot of 20-year-olds there and stuff. This one, it just wasn't.
Yeah. Well, and even still, even if you're seeing 20-year-olds there because they figured out how to make money on eBay, I would just say if you went onto a college campus and were like, hey, when was the last time you bought something on eBay?
Oh, no, a lot of people buy stuff on eBay still, I think.
I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. Okay. I don't think in that market. Like I bet you if you went to a college campus,
people are like Depop.
Right. If they're buying secondhand, which a lot of them are, and we're going to talk about that. They're thrift stores, Depop, Etsy, Poshmark, ThreadUp. There's tons of companies that like are the thing that they're doing. It's like eBay, right? Like eBay. My parents and grandparents.
I don't know.
eBay.
It's funny because I still, Yeah, I don't know. You and I agree to disagree. This has been a thing. We've been going back and forth for like years on this.
Well,
one.
I mean, I'm sure we can look it up. What's the demographic customer on eBay?
We don't need
It's
to
not
look it
young
up right
people.
now. Next update episode, we'll come with stats. All right. The other thing, this was interesting. So there's 24 pictures now being allowed for clothing items. What's your thoughts on that?
It sounds like more work for us.
It's so funny. It's so funny because when I first heard it, I was like, this is weird. Like, we have a video option, right? So if we could shoot a video, I'd rather spend 30 seconds and shoot a video than take 24 pictures. Like 24 is double. So I didn't see the value in that. And I don't know if you saw the meme that I put on Instagram, but it was like, eBay sellers, please provide instant payment for all offers. And then on the other side, it's eBay looking at the sun rising going, we offer now 24 listings, like totally oblivious. And that's what so here I'll end on a positive note, but this is what I wanted to share. I feel like there's a major disconnect right now between whoever's calling the shots on eBay. And I'm not just saying this to you, whoever is like in charge of all this stuff, and resellers. Now, the reason I say this, it's interesting because I know eBay invites sellers to their headquarters and they do like focus groups and all this stuff. But, I'll give you an example. I asked a question, I showed this on Instagram. I asked a question about, does having too many watchers in an item hurt you if that item doesn't sell over a certain amount of time? Most eBay YouTubers, people that resell a lot would tell you yes, because what that means is that you have an item that's sitting there, okay, and there's no conversion happening. And since there's no conversion happening, eBay is going to push that lower in the search. I asked this question. The response I got was, the more watchers you have, the better it is for you. And I was like, no, that's not true.
I mean, maybe in the way of like, if you've got a bunch of watchers, then that means your item is hot and somebody's eventually going to buy it. Like, that's probably what, that's technically a true statement. If you've got a lot of eyes on your product, it's probably going to sell, but that's not addressing the actual question, which is, if I have a lot of people looking at items and it's not selling, is that pushing me down in the algorithm?
And so there was a lot of stuff like that where questions were being asked and people just couldn't answer it. And so, or it was like a roundabout answer. And so I have a major concern. I mean, even this whole unpaid item thing, like what is going on that people are not aware of how serious of a matter it is? Like, how are people not aware of how much of a time waster it is for somebody to sell something? And, you got to cancel the sale. You got to contact the buyer. You have to follow with the buyer. What if the item sells at like 12 o'clock and you have to go run an errand 2 hours later and the person hasn't paid, and then they pay for it like around 4 o'clock, but you have to ship it out to the post office before 5, but you're not going to be back at home. Like, there's a lot of things that factor in and that are just not, I guess they're just not seen. And we had a lot of people on the Discord comment too that it just felt like the eBay Open Studio was a big advertisement. They did a whole video on their grants. They did a whole video on how they're helping, a lot of individuals, and they're dealing with climate change and all these different things. But when it came down to like the on the ground, like, this is how you are successful. This is how, no one ever mentions about actively listing. No one. This is why when eBay has like eBay University and all that, that's why people don't go there. This is why our podcast continues to be listened to. This is why Craigslist Hunter gets, thousands of views. Reezy, a Bonafide Hustler College Picker, like all these people continue to get YouTube views. Harry Tornado, all these people. When you would think everybody would go straight to the source, right? You would think they would go to the videos that are produced by eBay themselves. But the reason I think that people don't go is because there's something there that there's like a disconnect, and there aren't enough people on that team that understand the logistics of running an on the ground eBay business.
Maybe. I think that there's probably something to be said for that, except for I don't necessarily expect that the executives,
not the execs, but the people they send out to answer questions.
Okay.
I'm not asking for Ioni to like or Jordan Sweetum to be like, well, yeah, if you have too many, like, I don't expect them. They're execs. They have to run eBay. They have to make sure it's successful. They have, they have their people on their board. They have to make sure that, the management's fine. That I understand.
Yeah, it's a different skill set.
Yeah, I'm not asking for that, but I'm asking for the people that are there. They should be reselling consistently, which they used to do, and maybe still do. But I didn't get that sense.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. If they're kind of going to be, in a sense, an ambassador for the company,
Correct.
then they should have a better understanding of what the typical person. But the problem is, again, if we're going to be talking about like demographics, if we're looking at how much of eBay is made up of, like eBay's total profit is made up of sellers like us, the garage sale sellers that have just random items, collectibles.
True. We're 20%.
And that's 20% when you add all of us together, right?
Yeah.
So that's how many different markets. Like used car parts probably makes up a good chunk of that. And then used, so like when it really comes down to it, like what we do is probably such a small percentage that their energy is probably better used.
Mm-hmm.
But you would imagine they'd at least have a handful of people that's their focus is, hey, how do we make this, even if it's a minority group on eBay, this type of seller, how can we connect with them better? But the reality is maybe the eBay doesn't care to necessarily put the time and energy and money that it takes to make us happy, because we kind of see ourselves as like, because we're in our own reselling bubble.
Yeah,
we're on the Instagrams that we're on, the social media, the groups we're in, the other resellers. We're surrounded by people, and it almost becomes an echo chamber of like, this is what eBay reselling is, and eBay's like, well, like that's a part of what we do.
Yeah.
Like,
so, okay. So let me end on a positive note. I am extremely grateful that eBay does this, right? eBay doesn't have to do eBay Open Studio. eBay doesn't have to, provide swag. Doesn't have to provide my free shirt. Doesn't have to provide my mug that I have. Doesn't have to provide Mike's ice cream scooper that he got in his swag bag. Did you open the swag bag?
Did they do an ice cream social?
No. Well, no, but they had awesome food. Like,
but I mean, like that would have made sense, like the ice cream scooper. If it
no, there was no ice cream social, but they had like macaroni and cheese with like truffle.
Nice.
Like, no, they took care of you. Like, and so on the other end, there were a lot of people on the eBay team that very great people, great to have conversations with. Just had a great time. They were very supportive of everyone there. And it was awesome. I'm very appreciative that eBay put together an environment that was fun, that was relaxing, that you got to meet other resellers and you got to talk and you got to network. And so, yeah, it was an amazing time. I still had a great time, even though I showed up a day early and lost 6 hours of my life. Did you? I don't know if you got that on.
How do you do that? How do you not look up? Come on, Orlando.
Listen, the date was in my mind for like 2 months that it was on that Thursday.
And you don't like check the day before, like.
No, because that's
like the invite.
I arranged childcare. I did everything to make sure everything was right, but it was just on the wrong date. Now, luckily, I was able to go on the second day. But listen, eBay, I am very thankful. It was so bad. 5 hours of my life. I had to pay $26 in parking for that.
Should have just got a hotel down there.
I thought about it, but then I had a lot of stuff to take care of here, so I just drove back. So, anyways, but eBay did take care of us. It was a great time. I'm extremely grateful. I love the opportunity. And again, eBay is my platform. eBay is where I sell. I think a lot of the reasons that I say what I say is because I just want eBay to do better, because it's what I believe in. I believe that eBay is the ultimate reselling platform for secondary goods. And I want it to stay there because it helps all of us. So yeah, that's my 2 cents. All right. Hey, I've been saying this for a while, but I do think that this Q4, I think secondary goods are going to do better than they've done in every other Q4 in the last few years.
Yeah, I think so too, in the sense that, we've talked about this in the past. It's hard though. We're not in the type of downturn economy where people are willing to like, hey, I made you a handmade, like a paper airplane for Christmas, and I spent time on it. Like, people are still buying stuff. And so when you're buying gifts for people, and it's not like, hey, we're so bad, we can barely afford, food. And so, the gifts change. Like, if you were to look at gifts, like in other places or in times in America where like people were struggling, thinking like Great Depression, people weren't going to malls and buying new stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we're not there. And so when people are buying gifts, I still think people, when they buy gifts, they buy new because it's just so weird. Like I give gifts. I don't mind giving. I give new typically when I find like new unopened things at garage sales, like, oh my goodness, this like unopened Frozen toy is totally something my niece would love. Oh, her birthday's coming up. I can throw this in with her birthday gift that I've already got her. And, you know, now she's got a better gift and I only paid $2 for it, like easy peasy. But used stuff, I still don't know how many people are going to be buying used for like Christmas gifts or birthday gifts.
It's possible. I mean, let me read the latest report. Here's this from CNN. It said savvy consumers have found a way around sky high inflation to keep buying more than just necessities. They're doing it by shopping for their closets, homes, outdoor spaces, home offices, and workout areas, not from retailers, but from each other. Large chains such as Walmart and Target and Bed Bath & Beyond are struggling with an oversupply of merchandise and lack of demand for discretionary items like furniture, electronics, home decor, and clothing. But those are exactly the categories that are hot demand in the second-hand marketplace. According to the fourth annual industry report from OfferUp, a leading online resale marketplace. The CEO stated, while re-commerce has become popular in culture with its use for clothing resale, our research found that 76% of items bought and sold pre-owned are not apparel and instead fall into categories of electronics, furniture, home goods, home improvement, sporting goods, outdoor equipment, and auto parts. Demand for secondhand clothing and other items was already strong heading into the pandemic, with environmentally and budget-conscious millennial and Gen Z shoppers driving interest in resale. The pandemic strained the momentum, and now surging inflation has fortified it.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I'm hearing that, because we've been talking about this for a long time, the point I guess I was trying to make, because I don't want to say like I don't think secondhand market is going to do well or is doing well. I just think that like we don't, when we phrase it as this Q4 secondhand market, when we think of Q4, we're typically thinking Christmas, holiday shopping.
Okay.
So I think secondhand market is going to continue to rise and do well. I just don't know if we need to necessarily point and say, and it's going to do much, much better at Christmas time. Because if it's significantly improving year round, in a lot of ways, that's better for us. I'd rather the secondary market do better 12 months out of the year than just a little bit better for 2 months out of the year. You know what I'm saying?
I agree with you. I just get the sense that I think it's going to be there. And I could be wrong in this, but I am pivoting my business towards more secondhand this Q4. And I'm not talking about secondhand clothes. I'm talking about like collectibles, things that people can't find.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I'm looking at. I'm talking about vintage toys. I'm talking about items that people are looking for. Like, let's say their dad who is wealthy and they can buy whatever. They could buy the Gucci, they could buy the Louis Vuitton, but can they find that one Hot Wheel white Camaro treasure hunt from the 90s that's worth like $2,000 to $3,000? Right. If they can't find it and you have it, you're going to sell it. That's what I'm talking about. So, all right. Another interesting thing, you're talking about new stuff. So Amazon is adding another Prime Day in October. So this lends to the idea of people are shopping earlier for Christmas. And Amazon, I think, is setting that standard. There's also other news reports from Walmart and Target. They plan to begin offering deals and price matching offers earlier this year to keep with Americans pressed by soaring inflation and looking for ways to ease a potential sting of holiday shopping. And now they've opened their return window. Okay, their return window is from October 1st to January 31st. So what does this say to us as resellers? If you're selling on Amazon right now, you probably should be sourcing and trying to flip stuff. This happened last year. I made more money in October than I made in November. And I made more money in November than I made in December. Okay. Along with that, if you have eBay listings and you're kind of wondering, like, I'm going to wait, I would list them now. Like, people are buying now. So don't wait, because maybe we don't. Here's the thing with this kind of macroeconomic situation right now, right? There's an ongoing war in another part of the world. Gas prices are going back up again. Inflation was supposed to be at a peak, but then it's not. and then we have other, situations throughout the world. We had almost a train. There's a lot of things happening. You want to sell when you can sell, because there may be a time when things hit in the economy and you may not be able to sell. So might as well strike now.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, and I think that's it. I think we're good with reselling topics.
That's good. Okay. So let's go to the that sweet, juicy Bolo section. Bolo.
What's your bolo?
Yeah. So my bolo is wool. Wool.
Can you expound on that? Like, should we all buy sheep?
Yeah, buy sheep. Have lots
Start
of them.
shearing?
Yeah, or alpaca wool is great too. No, but I bring that up because a lot of the bigger sales that I've had clothing wise recently, and even we've sold a handful when we did our whatnot auction, was wool. So we're moving into the cooler season. And as we're talking about secondhand market, doing well, the reality is the cheapy sweaters, cotton, all of those things, unless it's like a high end, a high brand, you can get anywhere. But I think people, since they're buying used, they're going for like the higher quality used. And there's something to be said about wool, like sweaters specifically, I think are kind of like where the hot ticket is on the wool, but other things too. I mean, maybe mittens and hats and beanies and things that are wool lined. And we've all probably felt wool. If you've been reselling for a long time, you've touched it and stuff.
Well, the good sellers are like the new era, or like the baseball caps that are wool so well. Yeah. Pendleton is virgin wool, so as well.
Yep.
Right.
So I bring it up because it's almost like a simple rule of thumb, where you're at a thrift store, you're looking at a whole bunch of random sweaters. Maybe there's some money in some of the cotton ones because it's vintage and it has a certain, they only made so many. But you almost can't go wrong of at least looking if there's a brand and it says wool, right? Like you feel it, hey, this is wool. And if you can get it for a decent price, they sell on the low end. I think the lowest I've sold like wool sweaters for is like $35, $40 on eBay. And that's on the low end. And they can go all the way up to 100 plus depending on the brand. And if you're picking them up for a few dollars at a thrift store or at a garage sale, it's an easy, almost a no-brainer. And so check out wool as we're going into the cold section and season. And the other thing too, which kind of benefits us as resellers, is, we go to Costco, we go to Target, Walmart, and you see like they've got the sale items. Costco's like the dream for it. They've got jackets out and they've got pants and they've got all the sweaters, but they put it out so early, like basically a season before. If you want winter stuff, you pretty much have to buy it early fall or you're not getting winter stuff. Because in the wintertime, they're already starting to put out like spring stuff. Yeah. And you're like, where are the jackets? Where are the sweaters? So as a reseller, the people who are like, you know what, I should have picked up those wool sweaters they had selling at Costco. I didn't get one. Oh man, what am I going to do? Oh, they're so expensive online now because they're not on sale at Costco a season early. I guess I'm going to go to eBay. So anyways, check it out. It's basically just a simple rule of thumb that's going to get you decent profit.
What if things got so primitive, like first a podcast, and we had to go like wool, like we actually meant like, like go buy some
flint.
Sheep, go capture some sheep.
Right now, flint and whale blubber is just a premium. If you can get yourself some whale blubber, man, you'll be able to make candles.
I just
read
laugh.
At nighttime.
I'm just
things
laughing.
are getting real bad.
Because I've been catching like social media, like TikTok the algorithm is like insane. So I'll watch like these doomsday preppers and like September 24th, like apocalypse and like. And then it's like, well, maybe I was off, but it's September 26th. Be ready. Coming. Right. And I'm like, come on. Like, how many times have people said that? Now, and the world will happen one day. I personally believe that no one will know and it'll just happen. And when it happens, we'll deal with it. But what if we ever got to that place where like, we're talking about, all right, so you should forage. That's our bolo. Forage these berries.
That's right.
All right. Hey, my bolo, speaking of end times, gun holsters.
Seeds. Yeah, seeds are good.
No, gun holsters. So the reason I bring up gun holsters, I remember years ago, Good Old Scavenger Life had mentioned they bought like a bunch of gun holsters. And that always stuck in mind. Remember, whenever you listen to bolos, like a lot of people talk about like keeping lists and putting stuff on phones. I'm a big fan of like, just make sure you make a mental note and you just keep it there because you never know when you're going to remember that. And I remember with gun holsters, 2 weeks ago was the first time I actually came across like a huge, like not huge, it was like maybe 5 to 10 gun holsters. And I paid only $1 for each of them.
Are they like old vintage leather ones?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So usually the brand is it Bianchi?
I don't know. Gun holsters can be hard. I mean, it's your bolo. I'll let you do it. But gun holsters can be difficult because so many of them are specific. So unless it's like a collector who just wants it for looks, like, oh, this is an old World War II.
Yeah, so this one was for a Colt.
Okay, right. But even still, like, you got to know like what model. Like, is it a 45?
Well, they embossed it on the gun holster.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was if you don't know a lot about guns, it's really easy on some of these because they not only they tell you the name brand on it, but it also like below it'll tell you what kind of gun. It'll tell you 357. It'll tell you Colt. It'll tell you. And then, you might get questions. Is it for a J frame? Is it for a K frame? If you're dealing with Smith & Wesson. And that's all stuff I've just recently learned. It's not like I'm a gun connoisseur. But they sell well. I mean, when I was listening high. I sold one. I paid $2 and overnight sold for $65. Right. It was the Avenger, the Bianchi Avenger Colt holster. Nice. So anyways, so definitely a Bolo, because I think a lot of people are just trying to just offload it, especially if somebody's been in law enforcement for a long time. They probably have a huge collection, and you go to the estate sale. Not a lot of people are looking for them, and definitely keep an eye for gun holsters. So, all right, hey, listen, we talked about Whatnot here, and the reason we bring Whatnot is there's an opportunity for free money. And
free.
It is free. And what's
free 50 free.
So what's interesting to me is how many people sign up through our link and you get the free $15, but no one's spending it. You should go spend it because it's a free $15. And so if you use our link below, and you'll get a $15 credit, obviously an affiliate link. So we do get a kickback here too. But listen, if you're trying to source, I'm telling you, Whatnot is a great platform. If you're trying to go into the thrift stores, I love Whatnot. The reason I love Whatnot is because when you go there, most of the stuff that's being sold is sold by resellers. So it's pre-selected, right? Most of the time. Sometimes you'll get some that try to sell you junk, but it's pre-selected. And a lot of people are up and coming and they're new. And so some of them are just trying to just move the stuff, move that inventory. So you can get some great deals. I mean, even with us, right? We sold like a John Varvatos jacket that's worth like $300 for $65. Right?
Yeah, was that the goat skin?
It was the goat skin leather.
Another Bolo.
Somebody got a deal. John Varvatos goat skin.
Goats.
Keep an eye, right? So listen, use the link below. Go out there. Helps us out. Helps you out. Gives you free $15. But make sure you spend it because then you can turn that into a resale item, which will make you even more profit. So you get a free 15. You can turn it into even $100.
We should do a competition. It's like an unofficial competition, but let's see in the comments below. Sign up with the link, get your free 15. You got to pay shipping, but I mean that's still inventory 15. So you're at least getting stuff.
If you buy something for $3, it's going to cover your shipping,
right? So the way you should. Let's do a competition. Let's see who can get the best item for the cheapest price on Whatnot and put it in the comments below. Let us know, what did you get on Whatnot with your free 15 from your Pure Hustle podcast link? And if we get some good ones, we'll share them on the podcast. We'll that'll be your prize. We'll shout it out as like a hustle of the week.
I'm kind of like if you get the free 15, you buy something, you flip it for good money. We could have like a Whatnot hustle of the week episode.
I mean, you don't even have to flip it yet. Like just whatever you bought, right? Like if it's like this will sell for, we'll take that. We'll take your word for it. And then when it sells, that's double. But we'll do like a little section on an upcoming. So let us know in the comments.
So we're saying don't even buy from us. Buy from other people.
Buy from anyone.
Yeah.
And spend your $15.
All right. So that is our Whatnot there. All right. What are you looking forward to here, Mike?
Man, it's tough. So maybe it's this. So I'm going to Disneyland this weekend for So it's for a birthday party. It's paid for, so I don't have to pay for it. I don't have to pay for me, my wife, or my son to go to Disneyland. So like,
good for
of course,
you.
I'm not going to pass that up.
Yeah.
But the nice thing is, anytime I'm at Disneyland is an opportunity to at least look and try and find some items that you can flip. Now, here's the thing: you got to be careful if you're like a pass holder, a season pass holder, getting a discount with your season pass, and you go to Disneyland to buy things to flip. You can get your season pass revoked. But if you're just going and it's just like a one-off, hey, I bought like 3 of these items and I sold it, from Disneyland, you can do fine. The hard part is you've got to know what it is, right? Like every season, it's different things. Sometimes it's popcorn buckets. Sometimes it's like a toy in the store. You typically want smaller things if possible. For a while there was a leather like wallet that you can get it's a Small World, and it was, I think, Coach was like partnering with It's a Small World, so you can get a Disney Coach. It's a Small World, and they were like special edition ones. and you can only get them at Disneyland. So again, they were selling like hotcakes on Poshmark. So I'm gonna have to spend a little bit of time trying to research and potentially not only go to Disneyland for free, but flip a couple of things and pay for that crazy $30 parking and food. That's the goal. Pay for my parking and food and make it a completely free Disneyland adventure. It's a challenge. We'll see. You can ask me if I was able to do it. What about you? What are you looking forward to?
Few things. So even though I say I'm going to do secondary goods, I do want to scout and just see what's out there in retail arbitrage. I just want to see, because right now people are buying. So if I can get a feel for like, there's some items that could 5x my money, I might go for it. So we'll see. I have a ton of unlisted inventory, and Mike knows this because he sees it every time he comes over and we record the episode. So I need to clear out a lot of this. I gotta either list it or list it. I can't do away with it. Like I can't just donate. It's money. So I gotta list it. And then I need to finalize my shipping supplies. One, I kind of rocked my shipping supplies. I was not ready for all that. So I realized I was short on boxes. I realized I was not short on padded envelopes. I got probably like 600 of those. But remember, there's a lot of free USPS priority shipping boxes. Free, just free. You can just go on their site, sign up, order them, and they'll get delivered to you for free. So I need to check out everything. I need to make sure everything's good. I need to be ready for Q4. By the time this episode drops, we're only going to be like 2 or 3 days away from Q4.
Oh man.
So make sure
Q4
ready.
is just a number.
It's just, but it's a number where you can make some nice numbers.
Yeah, money's just a number too.
There you go. With that being said, make sure to be real,
be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.